Hey there, Ben Mankiewicz with you on TCM. You have joined us in the midst of tonight's lineup of 1950s sci-fi terror. These are movies from the early years of the atomic age. Up next, from Columbia in 1956, Earth versus the Flying Saucers. The title gives you pretty much everything you need to know. Alien invaders arrive, the U.S. military overreacts, and the planet is in peril. In the 1950s, flying saucer pictures were having a moment. The day the Earth stood still, War of the Worlds, Forbidden Planet. Columbia Pictures wanted in on the alien invasion action. The studio turned to producer Charles H. Schneer and special effects artist Ray Harryhausen. Fresh off Columbia's giant octopus thriller, It Came From Beneath the Sea, Schneer and Harryhausen were intrigued at the thought of making a flying saucer movie after Schneer gave Harryhausen several newspaper clippings about UFOs. I remember reading a number of books on the sightings, Harryhausen said later, and some of them seemed very valid, and some of them seemed, shall we say, a little way out. Harryhausen and Schneer decided their flying saucers had to be rooted in logic, so they worked with screenwriter Kirk Siodmak to come up with a plausible story. Harryhausen had once hoped to make an adaptation of H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds, even shooting test footage of the spaceships. Another pioneering film animator, George Pal, whose work we just had in When Worlds Collide, beat him to the punch in 1953 when Paramount released its adaptation of War of the Worlds. Columbia gave Harryhausen a chance to make his own creations here, and he pulled out all the stops. Everyone expected that his spaceships would be the star of the show. That meant extensive pre-production work needed to be done before shooting a single frame. Working out of a converted storefront, Harryhausen meticulously created footage of his UFOs. Much of it would be used as rear projection backplates for scenes with actors. Harryhausen also traveled to Washington, D.C. to take shots of the city's monuments to create storyboards for the movie's memorable climax. From director Fred Sears in 1956, Hugh Marlowe and Joan Taylor star in Earth versus the Flying Saucers. Through stop-motion animation, pioneering special effects artist Ray Harryhausen could breathe life into dinosaurs, skeletons, sea monsters, and all manner of fantastical creatures. In Earth versus the Flying Saucers, Harryhausen had to animate spaceships. True to his past form, he wanted to give them personality. I thought it was a challenge in the animation to see how I could make these saucers have a character as though they were guided by intelligence. He got the idea of having rotating discs that would move in opposite directions to give the ships a dynamic whirling motion. While Harryhausen usually worked alone, he did have some help. Harryhausen's father, Frederick, was a machinist and cut the flying saucer models on a lathe he'd purchased at a Sears Roebuck department store. The impressive miniatures ranged in size from 3 to 12 inches in diameter. Coming up, aliens arrive in giant glowing balls and empower a distraught wife to get back at her conniving husband. From 1958, The Attack of the 50-Foot Woman is next on TCM.
Next on TCM, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, then The Second Woman, and later, The Late Show. Stay up with TCM tonight.